Um, all, all right, we're recording.
Yep.
Okay. Podcast number 2. I believe you have to say the name of these podcasts. People need to know numbers. So this is podcast number 2, and we're today here with Audra Sisak. And because I'm an Aussie, I thought Audra was from Australia, but she's not, and I'm so excited that she's not. So hi, how you doing?
Hello. I'm very good. So excited to be here.
Absolutely excited to have you because you're a podcaster too. I just heard.
Yes, 2 shows, disability related. Very
Brilliant.
excited.
Brilliant. We'll put that in the notes underneath where to listen to your podcast as well.
Yeah.
But for now, let's just dive straight into because you've got a lot going on. It's very exciting in your head.
So much.
So what have you been diagnosed with, and basically how long ago? I know there's a few, so get straight into it.
I feel like I need to whip out one of those scrolls to get everything. My main primary diagnosis is autism and epilepsy. And those really are the 2 that affect my life, I think, the most, and really in a positive way for the most part. But I have a whole list of dyslexia, dyspraxia, depression, anxiety, Raynaud's, and restless leg syndrome.
Wow. Are they all interrelated, or were you diagnosed with them like kind of one at a time? So I imagine a doctor wouldn't have just said, look, you got all this stuff going on. Did it happen over a period of time?
Oh, yes. This has happened over a gradual period of time. And honestly, this really started with the epilepsy. It's all from the epilepsy, right? It always is.
But love your diagnosis. That's what we're here to represent.
That's right.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was all the epilepsy. And then it's just kind of downhill after that.
Okay. How old were you when you got diagnosed with epilepsy?
Unfortunately, I was, I think, around 35.
Wow, that's
when
late.
I was diagnosed. It was fairly recent. And unfortunately, I've had it my entire life because I have idiopathic epilepsy. I was born with it. So I've had all these problems my whole life, and they didn't know why.
Okay, I'll just explain to people listening that idiopathic anything, or particularly epilepsy, is that they don't know where in the brain it's coming from. They can't just say it's in the temporal lobe, or it's in the right parietal lobe, or if I said that correctly, or in the hippocampus. They just don't know. So it makes it a lot harder for them to treat it.
Yes.
Would you agree with that, Audra?
Oh my gosh, I've been on so many different medications and so many treatments. And of course, have you tried CBD and keto? Yes, I've tried it all.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, then you were diagnosed at 35. So basically set the scene of what your life was like up to then. Were you partying? Were you a bookworm? Were you a complete nerd and just at home and like a introvert? Or like, what was the scene like before your symptoms started getting so bad you had to go to the doctor?
Oddly enough, I was an introvert. I did not party. I didn't do anything. Occasional drink, with my friends and whatnot to go out. But other than that, I just, my autistic side was like, no, I'll stay in. I'm very social cue. I don't read other neurotypical social cues. I only read mine.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. So you weren't really a partier. That wasn't bringing on any symptoms. Late nights, that wasn't into it. Not alcohol, not, like you say, not that much.
Well, late nights, yes, because again, I am an insomniac. I don't ever sleep, hardly. And at that particular time in my life, I was just finishing up grad school for the second time.
Okay. Grad school for us Aussies is what? Is that uni, or is that like?
That's graduate school. So professional school, where I was getting my second master's.
Okay. Oh, in what?
Psychology.
Oh, good one. Okay. Well, I guess with any illness, there's this turning point when you kind of can't stop ignoring it or being in denial. In my case, it was totally denial. But yeah, what was that pivotal point for you where you went, I've got to check this out. Were the seizures, do you have grand mal seizures? Or
I have
yours-
all of them, unfortunately. I mean, you could pretty much pick and choose a symptom, and I've probably had it. Unfortunately. But the pivotal point was, and I remember this like clear as day, even though I don't remember the actual time that happened. I was driving to work. Ooh, I know, bad move. And I remember getting in the car, and I was living in Long Island, New York at the time. And I got in the car and I started driving. That was the last thing I remember. At that time I worked in a place called Garden City. It was still on Long Island. Okay. I had driven all the way to New York City. And I don't remember that span of time.
How long ago? How many kilometers would that be? And how much?
Kilometers, I don't know, because in America we always judge everything by time. So it was about 2 hours of time.
Holy shit. And you don't
Where
remember any of it?
Autopilot.
Is that because the epilepsy, the after effects of the seizure doing something to your brain, not reconnecting properly? Shit, dangerous.
Yeah, we can only guess that that's probably what happened. And I remember snapping out of it when I hit the bridge to cross over into the city, and I went, that's not right. Pull over.
Wow. How did you feel? I'm just going to take a little segue to how did you feel when your brain basically clicked back into working, and you realized you lost all that time and you were driving? How did you actually feel?
Wow. So I flipped out.
Yeah.
I had a full-on autistic meltdown with pulling my hair and picking at my skin. I was crying because I honestly had no idea where I was at, what was happening. And because I was in such a meltdown mode, I couldn't even hardly remember my own name.
Wow, Dal. Wow. And that was how long ago was that? Did you say?
That was about 5-6 years ago when I actually got the diagnosis.
Okay. So you went to the doctor, and what were the kinds of tests at that stage? Did you have any inkling that epilepsy was even going to be on your radar? And if, yeah, I guess my question is, what kind of tests did the doctors run immediately on you?
Because I had been diagnosed with everything else up until this point, because at this point I already knew I was autistic, and I'd been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which was just a BS diagnosis. And because I'd complained of constant pain in my legs. And so I was honestly thinking it was multiple sclerosis, like MS. And I went and saw the neurologist. They did an MRI, a full the head MRI, and then they did the EEG, or for the electrodes.
Yeah, they're always fun.
Yes, that was fun. And I had to have the one where it was for like 5 days on my head. And yeah, that's when it came back that I had epilepsy. And if my brain dropping into my stomach could be described as a physical feeling, that's exactly how it felt when I got that diagnosis.
And what was the actual, because for those listening, there's over 40 different kinds of epilepsy. So I know people think that there's only just one is the grand mal's drop to the floor, froth at the mouth, scary one.
But I call it the flippy flaps.
The flippy flaps.
Yeah.
So which epilepsy did you get diagnosed with?
So I have complex partial focal seizures with secondary generalized seizures.
Wow, what a milkshake.
Yeah, that's fine. It's always yeah, that's always like, woo, what are we getting today?
Wow. So that's pretty big. Now, does the epilepsy and the autism relate? So if you're having an autistic experience, does the epilepsy then play a part in that as well, or vice versa? Or are they completely different parts of your brain that you need to access?
I think they are very much overlapped because of my emotions. Because I have a hard time labeling my own emotions. I can label them in others, but for me it's hard. And then so to have a seizure and then be very upset by something, and then I can't label the emotion, and then it puts me in a panic even further. And so when I have a seizure, one of the symptoms or the signs that come 100% of the time is I will immediately cry, and I don't know why.
Right. You're lucky you can cry. I mean, people on medication, some people just cannot access that tear because they're so doped up with the meds. So good that you can cry still, I suppose.
Yeah, I know, with all
There's
the
a
meds I
win.
have.
Mm. Oh, so you've got the diagnosis, and what was the initial protocol that you were given to go on to? So, leaving the room, what was the protocol to try and maintain the electrical imbalance in your brain?
Oh, geez, meds, keto diet, and obviously 100% no more driving.
Is that still playing out now? You still can't drive?
Yes, they have told me that there's no way I'll ever be 100% seizure free, and I have lost my license.
Okay. See, that's a big moment. So when
That was
doing a podcast like Love Your Diagnosis and having to hear that would be confronting, I would assume, because it's in order to love your diagnosis, you have to love every part of it, the treatment, the outcomes, what freedoms and liberties that you've got and what are taken away. So yeah, that's a big one, but you've obviously dealing with it.
I am, and it's I think part of loving your diagnosis and dealing is loving even the bad parts of it, which losing my independence in that way was. But what's the positive side? I get to be chauffeured everywhere.
In a limousine.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I
sometimes.
guess whoever shows up.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. All right. So that most of that's exceptionally big. Were you pretty compliant when you left the doctor's office and had the the prescription pad and the the comments about driving and stuff? Were you compliant, or did you want to rebel?
Definitely wanted to rebel, but I have a son, and his life is so important to me, and so I need to be here for him.
What a beautiful mother moment. So you basically, you didn't have, you had other people to think about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which is a big one as well, because when I was going through my stuff, I only had myself to think about. So my choices were very much, about me. I didn't nobody else came into the equation except me. So my choices were quite out there. So yeah, big difference. So that in a way, your son anchored you to just deal with it.
Yeah, and he is autistic and has the same exact type of epilepsy that I do.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we spent because ours is genetic, so I spend my time helping him as well.
Did you ever think to get a test before having a baby, or it just didn't matter? You were like, if they do, fabulous. If they don't, fabulous.
I actually was diagnosed after he was already born. They had no idea. And again, I had signs during my pregnancy, and I had a very hard labor and hard delivery. I almost died. So
wow.
Nobody knew.
How did I do want to, this is a whole nother episode, but how did the pregnancy and all the hormones related to that affect your conditions? Did they stop? Did the symptoms stop during the pregnancy?
No, it got worse. I remember during my pregnancy feeling very terrible. I never wanted to be pregnant again. And I wasn't. I'm pregnant the one and only time.
Wow. Okay. So the hormones, because that's another type of epilepsy as well, the hormones, catamenial epilepsy, actually, just before women ovulate or menstruate. And so for some women who get pregnant, that the symptoms actually disappear, but you're saying that didn't happen to you.
No. And,
No.
I've had hormonal seizures too, because I've had a hysterectomy as well.
Darling, well, when's your book coming out?
I really do need to write one.
You do. Now, all right. So you've been compliant. You've had other people to think about. You've taken the meds. Everything's kind of leveling out. Is this what's happened? You found a kind of balance where you can live with it. It's part of your life, but the symptoms disappeared on the pharmaceuticals or not?
My symptoms have not disappeared. However, they have minimized to the point where I can actually work part-time now, which is great. I'll never be able to 100% support myself, or my family, just because that's the way it is when you have multiple disabilities.
Mm.
But yeah, it's enough that I actually had gastric bypass surgery to reduce the hormones that way. I had my gallbladder removed and then had a hysterectomy. And with all these surgeries, I was able to get down to about 3 to 4 seizures a year
Okay. Magnificent.
instead of about 300.
And are you taking medication, pharmaceuticals for any of the other list of diagnoses that you had? So autism, what was the other ones that you were?
Depression,
Depression.
anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you on a plethora of meds to find the balance for all of those as well, or is there is one pill kind of helping with a lot of them?
No, I take several meds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Gabapentin, Keppra, and Lexapro and Zonegran are all the epilepsy.
Okay. And CBD you were mentioning as well.
Yeah, and it's legal. Stuff is legal here in Washington State. So yeah, absolutely.
So that brings me actually to my next question. So have you tried anything outside of the Western medicine approach to help address some of the symptoms so that you can take a bit less pharmaceuticals but still maintain that balance?
I do a very high protein diet, especially now since my surgery. So that's basically a keto, and then I do yoga and breathing exercises. It's not that it helps with the epilepsy itself, but it definitely helps regulate my emotions and my mental health, which keeps my seizures down.
Yeah. And do you find also that the diet stuff assists with your autism?
No.
No. So you haven't found a dietary plan that actually helps with that? It's completely not related.
I'm
No.
autistic. That's it.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter how much kale you eat, you'll still be autistic. Yes. All right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, it's great that you're finding some balance. So you found some success with the keto for sure. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's but then you also thought about taking CBD, which is considered, well, in Australia, still illegal unless you only get it from a doctor. But you considered CBD in place of medicine or as part of the management plan?
I did discuss it with my doctor, and we put it in as part of the plan because he just felt with my complex type of epilepsy, there was no way to do it without both sides. But he wanted to see if I could use it, in conjunction with the others. And it actually worked out. I was able to reduce the amount of Keppra and Zonegran I was taking and incorporated CBD. And honestly, my my emotions are much more, like I said, well regulated. I don't know. It seems to be working a lot better.
Brilliant. So That's fantastic. Was that your choice or was that his choice?
That was definitely my choice.
Right. And why? What led you to want to do that? I'm asking because a lot of people, this podcast is really about planting seeds for people, about stuff that they may not have thought of doing, for their own symptoms and conditions and stuff like that. So what made you want to try something like that instead of all the medicine?
Yeah. So I'll just come out and say my neurologist was not on board with my plan.
Okay.
And my plan was to lose weight, get my gallbladder out. What was the other one? What other surgery did I have? I had so many.
Hysterectomy.
My hysterectomy, get my hormones regulated, and then go on the CBD. Literally, this was my plan. And it was because I wanted to try this in a healthier way, including medicine, like a individualized combined treatment plan using both Eastern and Western medicine.
Yep.
See what I could do without having surgery on my brain, because his plan was to have the VNS placed, or the vagal nerve stimulator, and I just didn't want it. And so this was my plan. And 2 years later, I'm more healthy and working better, like I said, than I ever have. And it led me to this because honestly, when I saw how many medicines they want to put me on, even after the brain surgery, I was like, nope.
Yeah.
There's got to be a better way.
Magnificent, Audra. So in all of this, what I'm hearing is, and what I'm so happy for you about, is that you still had a choice about where you wanted this to go, even though some choices are completely taken out of your hands, but somewhere in there you found a way to empower yourself with choices that you could make, and research that you did do for yourself, which is magnificent. Is there anything else that any other choices that you actually made that went against what the doctors were saying for you?
No, those were the big ones. I still have not had the VNS placed, and he's happy with the way things are. So, I still haven't gotten my license back, but that's okay. Like I said, we're doing all right.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And you've found a peace. You found a peace with everything. Do you think that about comorbidities? Are you aware of that word? Comorbidities.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So for those that are listening that don't know what comorbidities are, they basically are the symptoms that you experience when you've been diagnosed with something that perhaps aren't related to that diagnosis, but come with a lot of people with epilepsy, they start to develop anxiety issues or depression issues because of basically what they have to endure and the nature of the condition. So I ask you this, Audra, is any of those, like anxiety, depression, are they comorbidities for you? Or have you always kind of had that? Have you always had a predisposition to being anxious and depressed?
So again, interestingly enough, because I've had epilepsy my whole life, it's like asking, did the chicken come before the egg or the egg become before the chicken? We're not sure, because I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression when I was 15 years old.
Okay.
I had an ulcer when I was 12. So we're not real sure what happened if I had these issues before, because again, I'm autistic. And I'll tell you guys, here's the one stat that I can guarantee for everybody. Autistic people, 34% of autistic people are also diagnosed with epilepsy.
Wow, that's heaps.
Yep. So those with cerebral palsy, about 30% of them also have epilepsy. So which one came first? Not sure.
Yeah. That's not necessarily a comorbidity either. They're too vast, they're too, oops, I'll have to edit that bit. They're too, they are two distinct conditions linked to the brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, my last little question to you really is, if there's someone out there listening, or many people listening, that kind of can relate to you, and you have like a tip or some advice about treatments and management and things like that, what would that be for people that are going through what you are?
Oh boy. Learning to advocate for yourself is very hard, but your voice matters. It really does. Doing the research, I'm not saying just looking on Google, but actually opening up a book like yours, or looking on the epilepsy blogs and looking what other people have done, and just trying it, just see, because maybe, you're taking a medicine and you're having side effects. Well, you don't have to live with those side effects. Use your voice to get something different, because you can live with minimal seizures or no seizures and live a good life.
Yeah. And I guess anything on the autistic level for people that are that maybe don't have epilepsy, and there may be a management tool or tip that you can share with about being in the driver's seat for themselves,
Oh, about being autistic. And that one's difficult, because I've spent my entire life. It wasn't until I was 40 and I had a midlife crisis and I decided to become a comedian.
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all I can just say is hang in there, because it gets better, I promise.
Okay, that's beautiful. Now we'll put it in the notes for how to find your podcast. But if you want to audio, like say it for maybe vision impaired people as well, where can someone find your podcasts?
Oh, so we are on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We have two at my productions company is Suit Man Productions. And we have two autistic artists. So we, feature guests every month. And then we have another show every month called Dating with Disabilities, where we talk about all kinds of stuff.
Love
so
it.
Be wary of that show, 18 and older.
Oh my God, my favorite.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be looking at them myself. Thank you so much for your time and just for sharing your story and just some of the things that have helped you, and your bravery, and the fact that you're just out there, and comedy, if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at, huh?
Right. Exactly.
Well, we'll definitely be in touch, and I might get you back for other things that I'm doing as well. But thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.